Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dig into a really fascinating question. What's the difference, the real difference, between someone who's just skilled at something and a true master? We're going to break down the anatomy of expertise using a pretty surprising case study from the world of Geographic Information Systems, or GIS.
So you might be thinking, oh, it's just the 10,000-hour rule, right? Just practice. But you know what? It's way more complex and frankly, a lot more interesting than that. Because real expertise, it's not just about knowing how to use the tools.
Think about it. Anyone can learn a piece of software, right? But becoming a true expert? Well, that often comes from this really unique mix of things that honestly you can't really plan for. And this case study we're looking at today, it tells this powerful story of how a person and an entire industry can pretty much grow up together.
Okay, so our first clue, this one is all about timing. It's about being in the right place at the right time, catching a technological wave at the perfect moment and just riding it as it goes from this tiny ripple to a full-blown tsunami.
Now, what's so cool about this timeline is that it's not just a list of software this person learned. It's like a mirror of how the entire GIS industry evolved. It starts with SimCity in '94, a game, but it was a game that was subconsciously training the brain for systems and spatial thinking. Then boom, AutoCAD, which instills this super important technical discipline. And then ArcView, right when GIS was starting to open up to everyone. This journey, it just perfectly tracks the industry's own path from clunky desktop tools all the way to the cloud-based systems we have today.
So here's the key takeaway from that. The expertise didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was literally forged in lockstep with the technology. This person wasn't just learning about GIS, they were living its history as it was being made.
Okay, but perfect timing alone isn't enough, right? A lot of people were there for that ride. That brings us to our second clue, and this one is all about having a mind that is just naturally wired for this kind of work.
Just look at these traits. We're talking about systems thinking, spatial reasoning, a real love for the technical craft. CAD, databases, development. And here's a big one, a tendency to build tools, not just use them. And on top of that, a knack for teaching and communicating. See, even if that whole GIS wave never happened, this person's brain was already leaning in this direction. They weren't just a user, they were a builder and a teacher at heart. That's a deep, fundamental match with what this work is all about.
And that's the whole point, isn't it? Back in 2003, tons of people had access to ArcView. But how many of them had that specific cocktail of a builder's mindset, a developer's curiosity, and a teacher's ability to explain it all? Very, very few. So it wasn't just about the software being available. It was about having the right kind of brain for it. So we've got the right time and the right mind. What happens when you combine those two things over a long period? Well, that's our final clue. It creates this almost unfair advantage, an advantage built on compounded experience that is just incredibly hard for a newcomer to ever catch up to.
Look at the difference here. Someone starting out today, yeah, they can learn all the latest software, no problem. But they're missing something crucial that the veteran has. They don't have that old GIS pain. The memory of why the tools work the way they do, because they actually suffer through the clunky early versions. A new learner gets the how, but the veteran has the deep instinctual why. And that institutional memory, that context, it informs every single decision they make.
And this isn't just about putting more years on a resume. Not at all. It's about accumulated momentum. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. Each year of experience, when you've got the right mind and the right timing, just builds on the last. It creates this deep, almost intuitive understanding that, let's be honest, you're just not going to get from a textbook or a weekend boot camp.
All right, so let's put it all together. We've got our 3 clues, riding the perfect wave, having the right kind of mind, and that incredible compounding momentum. When you see how they all fit, you get the complete picture of how this kind of deep expertise really gets made. It really is the powerful intersection of these 3 pillars. First, you had to be there at the right time, when the field was just exploding. Second, you needed a brain that was naturally compatible with the work. And third, you needed to stick around long enough for all that experience to compound into something really formidable. You take away any one of those pillars, and that level of mastery, it just doesn't happen. It's not the same.
And really, this is what it all boils down to. You didn't just learn GIS, you basically grew up at the same time GIS grew up, and your brain was already wired for it. True expertise, at least in this case, is a kind of symbiosis. It's a story of parallel growth between a person and their field. They shaped their career inside the industry, and the industry's own evolution shaped them right back.
So that brings us to the big question, the one that really matters for you. Forget about GIS for a second. Think about your own career, your own skills. What wave are you riding right now? Is it a technological one, a cultural one? And is your mind naturally wired for it? Are you sticking with it, accumulating that momentum? Because that intersection of the right time, the right mind, and the right experience, that's where you're going to find your own unique expertise.